thank you for taking this time. I appreciate it. I always enjoy conversation with you, and I enjoy how easy it is to listen to you and to talk to you and to ask you questions, and I appreciate your generosity in that regard.
Thank you very much.
Okay. My pleasure.
Yeah.
When people generally think of NJPAC, they may just think of performances, but I know, and of course you know, that's incomplete.
Right.
Can you just give an overview of what is NJPAC in 2026?
So NJPAC is the city of Newark and the state of New Jersey's anchor cultural institution.
Yeah.
And that means to us that we're here, we will be here predictably, and we're in service to community in ways that we know about and ways that we don't know about. And the most fun of the job for me, and I think for a lot of my colleagues, is hearing from community about how this art center can add value to their lives. So every day I'll get at least a call from somebody saying, we're interested in standing up a music program in the West Ward. We're interested in NJPAC coming to this particular school and doing a residency. We believe that food insecurity is an issue that needs a broader visibility. How can NJPAC create forums for conversations and action around issues? So the job of NJPAC in Newark, and then to an extent, around the state, is to be a venue, a space where useful conversations can occur about the issues that are most important to the people we're in service to. The diversity of the state of New Jersey is, I think we're the 4th most diverse state in the country. So we have an opportunity to speak to, 15 different ethnicities, nationalities, certainly through what we put on stage, but as importantly through the social impact work that we do across arts education, community engagement, and now arts and well-being. So it's a wonderful canvas to paint on, especially in Newark, which is a remarkably collaborative city in my experience.
A little later, I want to get into the social impact and the community engagement work and the wellness work. But to start with the entertainment component, NJPAC is a stage for legends, it's a stage for emerging artists, it's a stage for community voices. How do you balance or create harmony between prestige and accessibility?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. We're about a $70 million business. We spend $8 million a year on all the work that we do in social impact. The revenue return is very small on that. And then, we present hundreds and hundreds of events a year, some of which are obviously commercial, and our expectation is, if we do it right, we'll sell the houses out, right? And we need to do that. Jerry Seinfeld is coming, sold out 2 houses, great. Floetry is coming, they'll sell out 2 houses. At the same time, we present a lot of fine arts attractions on our stages, and we build in a loss for that presenting as we make our budget every year. So literally 35–40% of what we put on our stages, we know we'll lose money. We also know that if we don't present those artists, they won't get presented, at least not here. And so the balance between, obviously, Paw Patrol, 2 shows of Paw Patrol. All the 4-year-olds have a ball, but we sell the house out and we make money, right? But we're doing, a celebration of John Coltrane at 100. I know we won't sell that out, but we should do it, and we do it.
Yeah.
So the hard part is making a balanced budget every year that is reflective of our commitment to diverse programming, not only in terms of the audiences that we're looking to attract, but also the genres that we present, right? So jazz does not make a lot of money.
Right.
Dance doesn't make a lot of money,
Right.
you know. So world music sometimes does not make a lot of money. But we have a commitment to diversity of genre presentations, and then diversity of attraction based on all the audiences that are available to us. And so we're dependent on philanthropy, and we're dependent on being smart enough to balance our bookings so that at the end of the day we come out even.
Yeah. So I want to lean in on this one a little bit. You know, take a show or program that is intended or expected not to be a moneymaker. Where do you point to the success in those shows? How they're still successful in other areas?
Sure.
What are those areas?
So Prudential Hall has 2,800 seats. If I do a jazz show and I can sell 1,200 seats to that jazz show, you know, I might lose money on that evening.
Right.
But if I have marketed in such a way so that some fraction of that audience who comes in never heard a jazz artist before, we win.
Right.
You know, winning is not always about financial success.
Right.
Right. You know, if we can advance cultural literacy through what we do, that's a win.
Yeah.
For us. So there are a lot of different ways to win.
Yeah.
Right. I remember when I was growing up in the business, my boss was George Wein, who produced the Cool Jazz Festivals, and the Cool Jazz Festivals, these big stadium R&B shows, and you'd have, you know, I'm talking about in the 80s, you know, in the late 70s and stuff, and the shows would have Stevie Wonder and Gladys Knight and the OJs and the Temptations and you name it. And Aretha, and George would always, at the beginning of those stadium shows, where there'd be 40,000 people showing up, he would like, you know, put the Count Basie Orchestra on first. And I said to him, George, you know, these people haven't come to see Count Basie, they come to see Aretha. He said, you know what, if of those 40,000 people, if 400 of them go to the record store the next day and look for a Basie record, we did it, you see. So that there's no singular win here as a presenter.
Yeah, right.
There are lots of ways to win, and some of them we don't even know about.
Yeah, right. Along with the presentation of art, there is the nurturing of art, the development of art, the arts education work that's going on here. You're shaping people, young people, and not as young people. Why is that so important for a performing arts center to also be that invested in the arts education and shaping of young artists? Well,
I mean, our jazz program has been in existence since before the building opened. And there are many ways for young people to evolve, right? A lot of young people, when they can, they play sports, you know, and they play team sports. And that is a way for them to gain skills. It's a way for them to understand how to collaborate and cooperate. And I think the arts the arts do that as well. So most of the children that we're in service to are from under-resourced backgrounds. Many of them are in challenged circumstances. Being sometimes raised by a single parent or a grandma, or parents who have two jobs in order to make life work. Sometimes the school environment for our young people is not what it might be. And so by participating in the arts, whether it's coming to our arts training programs where they get one-on-one instruction, group instruction, or where we go into schools with residencies, we do a couple of hundred of those every year, where we'll go in and we'll be in a classroom for 10 weeks, twice a week. It's a way for us to open gateways for young people, and not only to learn skills, but also for social emotional growth.
Yeah.
And the collaborative nature and the confidence that participating in the arts gives to young people is something that we have a research unit now that is tracking how a child's life is changed by virtue of participation in the arts, and what are the programs that are most impactful in changing the way a kid thinks about themselves.
Right.
The other thing we did was years ago, we turned our education programs into the maker model, right? That is kids as creators and producers of their own art. When you ask a kid to tell you about themselves through the arts, you're asking a kid to be brave,
Yes.
right? You're teaching them a skill, but you're also saying, you know what you have to say is important. And we want to hear from you. And when they do that, and when they are brave like that, their confidence grows.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what the arts can do in success for young people.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I love about the arts education program, whether it's on the campus or in schools, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. But to your point, kids are afforded a space to develop confidence, right? And that space that they're afforded starts with being given permission to observe each other, observe the teacher, not just be instructed by, but observe and take in and process in their ways, right? And then also emotional elasticity. Like there's space made for joy, and there's space made for sorrow. Like if you're doing a theater program.
You're right.
Even if you're doing music program, like when you get into the music theory and you're learning about why this song was written, why this composition was written, and what is it intending to communicate beyond the notes, you know what I mean? Beyond the stanzas and whatnot. It's like that is what arts education organizations and institutions are talking about when they say children become more well-rounded adults by way of the arts in a way that social studies class just doesn't afford.
Well, it's interesting. We're now, in our professional development work with teachers, we're helping teachers integrate the arts into their standard curriculum.
Okay.
Right? And that's fascinating to me. For a minute there, for about a year, some years ago, I had an idea that we would try to build a arts-infused K-8 school. And we went around the country, and we discovered that it didn't exist. My idea was that every single subject would be taught from a perspective of the arts.
Okay.
Right? The arts would get integrated. It didn't exist. And because we're not educators, that's not our day job. We passed on that idea, and that idea evolved into the Koopman Center, which will open in a year from now or so. We also have social workers that are present at our arts training programs, so that when a kid tells us about themselves in a way that is triggering, we're there to talk them through, and let them know it's okay, and give them a sense of safety around sharing who they are, right? There's a lot of value to that. And we don't care whether a kid becomes Wynton Marsalis or a dentist.
Right.
A dentist with empathy.
Right.
We could all use that. Right? So,
I want to talk about the physical real estate expansion, retail expansion, public space. The expansion of NJPAC to develop a campus that is a neighborhood, right? That brings more power to what NJPAC is and expresses. And I don't mean power in like a capitalistic sense, but the ability to affect the community, right? It's exponentially more impactful if you are a neighborhood than if you're a building.
Correct.
Right?
You're right. Yeah.
How do you deal with that responsibility in building out this of like, it will be more powerful? How will you respect the power that you will grow? Do you know what I mean?
Sort of. Yeah. I mean, it's not so much. I wouldn't use the word powerful
Okay.
because it's a kind of antagonistic word.
Okay.
Especially these days.
Yeah.
But the idea is to be useful and inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me is what the opportunity is,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, the fact that we were able to master plan this campus,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really internally grateful to Prudential because their Omid Sateh, who was running social investment at
Mm-hmm.
Prudential several years ago, was the person who came to me and said, after we opened One Theater Square, our residential tower across the
Yeah.
street, and it rented up
Mm-hmm.
quickly,
Mm-hmm.
he said, you know, you have an opportunity here, rather than parceling out your real estate,
Mm-hmm.
building by building by building,
Mm-hmm.
to come up with a comprehensive
Mm-hmm.
plan
Mm-hmm.
that is inclusive of the entire campus,
Mm-hmm.
right? And most real estate developers are entirely bottom line oriented.
Mm-hmm.
It's the nature of the business. Nothing bad there. That's
Right.
what they do for a
Right.
living. But we, as a nonprofit real estate developer,
Mm-hmm.
are not obliged to squeeze every dollar out of every inch of real
Mhm.
estate. So as we master planned the campus, we said, in addition to doing residential, in addition to doing retail, in addition to doing restaurants, in addition to adding back in streetscape, building townhomes that eventually will be for purchase as years go by, we have the ability to build a 60,000 square foot education and community center in the front yard of the Arts Center,
Yeah.
Which enables us to prove to community that education, community, well-being are as important as buying a ticket to see Neil deGrasse Tyson. See? And integrating that in a seamless way, I believe, will help remove misperceptions that a place like NJPAC, a big, imposing, beautiful performing arts center, is not for them. It is for all of us. And the campus that will come to life a year from now, 15 months from now, will be vibrant and will reflect the diversity of our community. So, again, that's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
And in a city like ours, like Newark, a place like ours can play an outsized role
Yeah. Yeah.
because we have a mayor who's an artist,
Mm-hmm.
a mayor who believes in economic development, and melding social impact with economic development. I mean, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what a gift to be
Yeah.
able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned there are things, ideas that you've had that didn't come to fruition. I'm
Yep.
sure there are many
Oh,
ideas,
many,
right?
yeah.
Can you talk about anything that did come to fruition that outperformed what you imagined it would do in whatever way, but like just blew your mind at how successful this actually ended up being, whether for NJPAC or for the community at large?
Well, when I got here 15 years ago, we had a structural deficit of several $1 million. And I realized that the diversity programming we were doing, the programming that was not traditional performing arts center fare, was being done in the smaller spaces.
Yeah.
And David Rodriguez, when I brought him in 6 months later as our executive producer, David said to me, we need to turn this on its head. We need to put all of our diversity programming in the big room.
Yeah.
And if we do that, we will engage community in ways that we haven't, and we'll get on the road to sustainability. And he was right, and that worked. 15 years ago, we were a $25 million business. Now we're a $70 million
Right.
business. That that model of diversity presenting saved us.
Yeah.
And then take that and say we are the most diverse performing arts center in the country in terms of our programming and our audiences and our staff, right?
Yeah.
We're very intentional about having our staff reflect the communities we're in service to. So that to me is a model that works, and when I go to conferences with our performing arts center peers, they want to know how we did that,
Right.
because they want to do that too.
Yeah.
And that to me that's a good legacy thing for us. The growth of our arts and well-being program has been really gratifying. This is something I talked about with Barry Ostrowski, who was the head of Barnabas Health and our board chair years ago, and Barry understood it, he got it, he supported it, and we went on a journey to understand how a performing arts center can get engaged in community health. And it took several years. And then we found a great leader for that work in Ali Meyer. And the partnerships we've been able to effect around the work we're doing in arts and well-being speak to this larger, big idea of community collaboration.
Yeah.
So the ArtsRx program, for example, we have about 15 culture partners that we send ArtsRx clients to get to know those institutions, to participate in arts events there. The organizations get paid for dealing with these clients, and the arts are good for our health. Participation in the arts the data proves that one's mental and physical well-being are improved by active participation in the arts. Again, what a great gift for us to be able to be a catalyst for that, to go on. And what we're doing in that space is attracting attention all over the place, and we are now being asked to model that program in other cities. Great.
Yeah.
See?
I'm so glad you mentioned the staff, and this is going to be the last question.
Yep.
So I talked about this a little bit with David from a production point of view, but hospitality, in my experience with NJPAC, is very much at the forefront. Caretaking is at the forefront of the business here, right? From programming to the volunteers to ushers, to the office staff, caretaking is a priority, a high priority.
That's correct.
Why is that?
Because everyone is welcome. And I say to our teammates, you are all owners. And feel free to act like an owner, because this is your place.
Yeah.
We have ushers who've been here for 20, 25 years. And when they greet you, they're greeting you because they're welcoming you to their home. They're saying, come on in. And I find it so touching to see that up and down the organization. You know, this sense of pride in the work and a really great desire to share the work out because they believe in the work.
Yeah.
And I say you're owners, and I also say you're all producers, right? Anything we do, there's 100 hands in it, right?
Yeah.
And any one piece of it, if it doesn't work, could blow the whole thing up. So a sense of responsibility about what folks are up to, a sense of ownership of the work writ large. There's a lot of that feeling abroad in the organization, and that to me is, is so moving and so effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.